Let's talk next level hair removal. Hey everybody, welcome to Beyond 50 Skin. My name is Cindy. Welcome. Today we're going to be talking about hair removal, specifically laser hair removal and electrolysis. So if this is a topic that interests you, go ahead and subscribe, click the notification bell, and give this video a like. Tag a friend if you think they might be interested in the topic. So let's jump right into it. So the first category of hair removal I'm going to talk about today is photoepilation. What in the world is that? That's a big term. But basically it's using lasers or intense pulse light to get rid of hair. And they have varying effects. And both of these are semi-permanent modes of removing hair, not permanent. You'll have to do multiple treatments and probably follow-up appointments. So you want to make sure that you're going to a licensed professional or certified professional. Different states have different requirements, and some states have absolutely no requirements. So make sure that you go to a person that has tons of experience, but it's better if you're going to someone who's licensed and certified to perform the procedure that you're looking to have done. So let's do a deep dive into laser or photoepilation. A very basic explanation of laser hair removal is that the laser itself emits light. The light is absorbed by the pigment or melanin in our hair, and then that light energy is converted into heat, which actually ends up destroying parts of the hair follicle or the full hair follicle. And it typically delays hair growth and inhibits hair growth, but it is not a permanent solution. And if you think about that light energy converting to heat, that's what's actually kind of the painful part of the process. And they have newer lasers out that have cooling technology incorporated into the laser, which make it a little bit more comfortable. I personally haven't tried that, but if you have, let me know in the comments and let me know if you think that's any less painful. So moving on to IPL, the second photoepilation technique. So IPL is a more diffuse emitting light. It has like multiple wavelengths of light, so it's not as effective, it's not as directed. It works in the same way. The light is absorbed by the melanin in the hair, and it destroys the base of the hair follicle down by the papilla. And it works in the same way, but it's a little bit more diffuse and not as effective. I read a couple studies, and definitely the laser is more effective, more like a 60% reduction, and the IPL is more like a a little bit over 40 to 50% reduction in hair. And with both treatments, you have to have 6 to 8 treatments, and you have to go back once or twice a year for follow-up and maintenance. So it is a commitment either way, 6 to 8 treatments ongoing every 6 to 12 months, every year. It's both are effective, but it's shown that laser, and the studies have shown that laser is more effective and IPL is less effective. So the next type of hair removal is the only FDA-approved permanent form of hair removal, and it's electrolysis. There are 3 types: galvanic, thermolysis, and blend, which combines both forms, galvanic and thermolysis. And galvanic came around in the 1870s. It wasn't really popularized until the 40s and 50s, and that's kind of what I associated with it. It's this archaic form of hair removal, and it wasn't really done anymore, but that's not true. It's up and thriving. Not necessarily galvanic, but the blended form is the most popular these days, either thermolysis or the blended form, depending on your skin type and hair type. And I'll get into that. So let's go back in history to the original form, which is galvanic. And those machines are still around. There's ones where they have a single probe and a multi-probe. It's very interesting. So in galvanic, what happens is basically there's a sterile needle that's inserted into the hair follicle, and it shouldn't puncture the skin if it's done correctly. So the needle goes into the probe, goes into the hair follicle down toward the papilla, which is the base, right? That's what we're trying to destroy so we don't have any further hair growth. And it gets down in there and it sends DC current, direct current, into the hair follicle. The direct current, along with the salt and the water in our bodies or in the hair follicle, turns into a chemical form of lye, which actually destroys the hair follicle and should not grow back if done correctly. The downside of the galvanic technique is, number one, it has to be in the hair follicle about 30 seconds for this chemical reaction to happen. So the time spent in the hair follicle is quite long compared to thermolysis. And the other thing is that it's very tedious. Well, actually all 3 are very tedious, and they can be painful. So the second type of electrolysis is thermolysis, and you get it heat, thermolysis, killing. So heat killing. destruction of the hair follicle. So basically, the same probe is inserted, but it's much quicker. It's like seconds as opposed to the 30 seconds that the galvanic has to take. So in thermolysis, high-frequency electrocurrents cause electrocoagulation at the base of the hair follicle, basically destroying it. So it's basically heat energy that's destroying the follicle. As I said before, thermolysis is faster than galvanic, and it can be, so it's just in and out within seconds. So someone that's really skilled can kind of get through a larger area much more quickly. But it doesn't work as well for the thicker, coarser hairs or the curly hairs or distorted hairs. It's better on the sort of hair follicles that are shallower in depth and sort of have thinner hair. So the last category of electrolysis is the blend formulation. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that at some point they were going to blend the two types, and because they both work, but they work even better together. The thicker, coarser hair will benefit from the blend type, where they combine sort of the live chemical destruction of the hair follicle plus the heat. And that, it does take a little bit longer because obviously you need to leave the probe in there to have the chemical reaction, but it ends up being a more thorough destruction of the hair follicle in the long run, especially with thicker, coarser hair. So the cool thing is they have computerized versions of these techniques now, and which makes the process faster and easier from my understanding. Also, kind of an interesting point is if you're looking for electrolysis in your area, if you're on the East Coast, it's more likely you'll find the thermolysis, where on the West Coast you'll probably find the blend electrolysis services. And the downside is that it's expensive. It takes multiple treatments. The plus is that it's permanent. And, also with any procedure, you want to make sure that you find a great provider. You want to make sure they're using, great disinfecting procedures and standards. Wherever you go, you want to make sure that, your person that you're going to has had experience in what they're doing. It's really important to get someone that you trust and have a rapport with. They should do an intake evaluation to assess your medical history. They should review your goals with you, and they also should be really honest about how many treatments it's going to take, what the pain level is involved, how they're going to mitigate your comfort. All those things need to be taken into consideration before you start any procedure like this. Any medical aesthetic procedure takes time, research, effort, and a real commitment. If you're not committed to the aftercare, then that's another thing to take into consideration. You always want to have good sun protection afterwards. Your skin's going to be a little irritated, and you're going to want to, make sure you're doing really good sun protection behaviors and using sunscreen regularly and following the directions that your provider gives you.
So here's one of the older electrolysis machines that's capable of doing multiple hair follicles at a time, both blend and thermolysis. Here's one of the newer ones that is a single probe machine. It's computerized. And here's me getting prepped with an alcohol prep for my patch test. And she's doing one hair follicle at a time. It does sting and it does burn a bit. And it's a bit of a process. And here's the sort of blistering that you get after the procedure. And you can expect to heal up over about the next 21 days to 7 weeks. That's about how long it took.
I want to really be upfront about the side effects you can have with this procedure. Basically, you're going to have redness that can be pain during the procedure. There are rare instances of scarring. There are rare instances of infection. That's why it's important to really look into your provider, make sure they're doing really good disinfectant techniques in their facility. And if you're not committed to the post-care, then it's probably not worth doing, especially with the cost involved. You also want to make sure that you've talked to your doctor if you have any medical conditions that might be contraindicative of any type of a current type procedure. So everybody's medical history is different, so it's not something you go into lightly. The positive is that, like, permanent hair removal, I think that sounds awesome. And it's not cheap. A 15-minute is typically around $45, depending on where you are in the country. That's not cheap, especially if you're looking at between 15 and 30 sessions. If you think about the fact that they're putting one little needle into each follicle, you can do the math. It's going to take time. And also, from my limited experience, when I had it done, there is some pain, and there's a point where you're like, I'm kind of done. So And for me, that was like about a half an hour. Everyone's pain threshold is really different. The benefit is permanent hair removal. I think that's kind of cool. Word to the wise that the electronic tweezers that are being promoted out there are not the same thing as electrolysis. The FDA has not approved electronic tweezers for permanent hair removal. So put your comments down below. I'd love to hear if you've ever had laser or ever had electrolysis, what your outcome and results were, and what your thoughts are. So as promised, I'm going to do a quick update on my body exfoliating adventure. If you haven't seen that, check out my video from last week. I'll throw a card up here. And basically, I started to freak out because the Murad AHA BHA cleanser, aside from being not a body cleanser, a facial cleanser, which I didn't realize until I got it home, but it's working great. You only need like a tablespoon, like even less than a tablespoon to do like arms, and another like tablespoon or half tablespoon to do your legs. It really a little bit goes a long way, but I started to freak out because there was a scrub in here, like some sort of manual exfoliating product. And I was like, oh my gosh, during the whole thing last time I was sort of, you know, trashing manual exfoliation, at least for me personally, because the skin on my legs is so tender and thin and easily irritated that I wanted to stay away from a manual scrub. Excuse my phone a moment. I'm supposed to be taking the dog out, but she can wait a moment. So yeah, and Daisy will not be getting laser hair removal, my furry beast. Anyway, back to this. So what's in here is jojoba bead, and they are a wax form of jojoba. I feel a little better. They're not gonna tear up my skin. They shouldn't be doing anything damage and give me a gentle exfoliation. So I'm not panicking as much as I was. But if you get this home and you're like, Cindy said, don't use a scrub on your legs. This does have manual exfoliation in it, but it should be very mild and gentle. I haven't had any irritation from it at all, and I'm enjoying it actually a lot. And I think this is going to last me forever, even though it's a I don't know, a 6.75 fluid ounce jar, and I think this is going to last me forever. A little bit goes a long way, and it leaves a really nice silky feeling when it's rinsed off. And I'm following up with my Eucerin Roughness Relief Lotion. I love it. It has urea and lactic, and it's working great after I use this scrub slash chemical exfoliating product. This does not sting my legs. It's a fantastic combo. Sometimes I throw in a little Hydro Boost before I put this on, or I make sure I definitely, you know, I still am damp when I'm applying this, and it dries down really beautifully. So the leg exfoliation project, or arm and leg exfoliation project, is going well. So I'm all about getting my legs ready for summer. I definitely want to try and focus on wearing those dresses and skirts and shorts that have been dormant in my closet for so long. So please comment down below how your summer ready legs are going. If you're doing anything, or if you're going to be in leggings all summer, that's chill too. But comment down below if you've used any of the either electrolysis or laser. I'm totally curious to hear. Definitely like, subscribe, and tag a friend that might be interested in this. It was really lovely of you to spend your time with me here today, and I really appreciate the time you do spend, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Bye. Have a lovely day. Take good care of yourselves. I am so nervous about uploading this week's video. I hope it goes well. I hope you enjoy it. We're going to talk about epilation as opposed to depilation. Depilation. Anyway, epilation is the removal of the hair below the level of the skin, and depilation or depilation, I don't know. That's why I'm so nervous. Depilation. But depilation is the chemical removal of hair above the surface of the skin, like creams and lotions and things. And oh my gosh, your friends are barking. Anyway, let's just jump right into it. Enjoy.